Colleagues, we've had a lot of very difficult but necessary exchanges about racism in the last couple of weeks, in our homes, in our communities, and with each other. My heart aches for my colleagues who have borne witness from these microphones right here in the Senate to the injustice, whose loved ones have been victims of injustice, alongside the people across Michigan and our nation, including Grand Rapids, who are hurting right now, who are raising their voices, and who are calling for change. I felt compelled to speak today, first to say unequivocally that I see your pain and I stand with you in your calls for justice, equity, an honest recognition of what life is like when you are Black or brown in America. Secondly, I rise to speak today because we have been through this before, yet here we are. In fact, again and again and again, we have witnessed unjust suspicions turn into unjust actions that result in the death and destruction of the lives of our neighbors. Again and again and again, we have been outraged, and we shook our heads, and we promised to do better. Yet here we are again. It's time for all of us to admit that outrage about headlines and promises to do better are not enough. Last week, when I signed on as a co-sponsor of legislation by my colleague, the good senator from the 18th District, George Floyd was still alive. By the time the bill, SB 945, was read into the record here in this chamber, he was dead. George Floyd's story could easily have happened here in Michigan. In fact, since 2015, more than 77 individuals have been fatally shot by police officers within the state of Michigan. Nearly 50% of those fatalities were non-white individuals, and close to 1/3 were suffering from documented mental illness. The bottom line is, we must be willing to change the way we do things. If we expect fewer tragic deaths when police and the people they serve interact, that's why Senate Bill 945 is so important, perhaps now more than ever. We have a responsibility to provide law enforcement officers with training in violence de-escalation, implicit bias, and identifying mental health problems, because no one is free from implicit bias. None of us here are, and police officers aren't either. I know police officers have difficult and stressful jobs, and they deserve to be equipped with much more than batons and guns when they answer a call. They deserve all the tools, not just blunt instruments of force. Why wouldn't we want to provide them with the best training possible to diffuse dangerous situations and make sure everybody involved gets through it safely? I want to express my gratitude to our colleague from the 8th Senate District for giving this bill a hearing in committee. While there's clearly a lot of work ahead, passage of Senate Bill 945 would be a great start in addressing the racial inequalities in our criminal justice system. I hope that this time the expression of pain and frustration from our friends, our neighbors, our brothers and sisters will yield lasting change. Thank you, and I ask that my remarks be printed in the journal.